My parents were so rich and loved themselves so much that they even built a statue of themselves. We had everything money could buy and more. I had like a zillion toys, and I even had my own theme park. But I was never interested in their splashy lifestyle. I've always had a curious mind. Like, for example, I couldn't get my mind off what was behind that red door that Mom and Dad forbid me from opening. So sometimes I would just sit and look at it.
Samantha, you must be the only child on this planet who sits and gazes at a door when you have a room filled with toys.
Well, I was wondering if maybe I could look through the peeping hole just once.
But you know the rules, Samantha.
Please?
Fine, just one peek. I'm counting till 5. Okay, time's up.
No matter how much my parents wanted me to be like the other kids, fun and playful, I couldn't help but question everything around me. Like, why are ants so tiny? Or why do we all have 2 legs and not 5? Even my teachers didn't get me.
Okay, class, let's spell because.
Betty eats cold apples under Suey elephant.
Yes, Samantha.
Why does Betty eat cold apples under an elephant?
Oh, Samantha, you're the special one, aren't you?
I didn't care how people looked at me because I knew I was meant for something great. And then one day, when I was around 10, I discovered my passion after watching Mira, the Royal Detective. I wanted to be just like her. My parents even got me my very own detective magnifying glass, but they instantly regretted it during one of their lavish parties. Instead of dressing up in a frilly dress taking selfies like the other girls, I walked around with my detective costume and magnifying glass. And as I was searching for clues to unravel anything mysterious, my detective skills took me into Mr. Shaquille's bag. He worked with my parents, and oh boy was I surprised to find out what he had inside.
Excuse me, sir. What are you doing with this?
You inquisitive little girl. What are you doing in my bag? And bring back my teddy.
He acted like a little baby the way he hugged the teddy. It was hilarious. And then Mom and Dad took my hand.
That is enough, young lady. Are you trying to ruin our party?
I was just playing my favorite game, Dad.
Give me that. No more detective games for you, young lady.
But Mom, that's what I love doing.
Enough.
My parents locked me in my room for the rest of the party. I felt such a burning rage towards them, and what they didn't know is that I knew how to unlock my room door with my hairpin, something I've been practicing for when I become a real detective. I checked if the coast was clear and slid my way downstairs, and nope, I was not going back to the party. Since my parents took away my magnifying glass, I was gonna go into the forbidden door. And once I unlocked the red door with my hairpin, I was shocked to find a tall shelf with lots of files. I was so disappointed. I was hoping to find a room full of candy or diamonds or something interesting since I was never allowed in here. And then suddenly, a photograph fell off from one of the files. And when I picked it up, it was a picture of a young girl who looked like she was my age. Why did my parents have a picture of a strange girl? While I was studying the picture, I heard footsteps, so I quickly closed the door and switched off the light, waiting for the person to go away. That was close. I sat looking at the photo every day, almost wishing it could talk back to me and tell me who she was. All sorts of things went through my mind, like, was she my sister? But then why would they hide her away? Was she a long-lost cousin? It definitely couldn't be an old photo of Mom since the girl had rare blue eyes. It was all useless, unless I was brave enough to ask my parents, which I wasn't. I eventually forgot about the picture, and I stopped playing detective. It was all just a big fantasy. Years passed, and then I was in high school, and my friend Tanya and I were the only 2 without boyfriends, because no hot guy wanted intelligent girls with bags heavy with books. Oh, if only. I know, but they will never go for us because we're too smart for them. I usually snapped out of drooling over hot guys, but my friend Tanya, well, she was so desperate for love that she even stalked the football captain on Facebook, pretending to be some hot supermodel. So, does the captain want to meet you in real life yet? No, you know that can't happen. With my big teeth, small eyes, and pimply face, who would ever like me? Hey, remember what I always tell you. Love yourself first before anyone else can. You're such a wise person. Thank you. I had deep love for Tanya. We only met in high school, but it felt like we'd known each other for a lifetime. I usually took a bus home with Tanya after school, but this time around my parents were waiting for me, because apparently they wanted to celebrate some business deal Dad made.
Our lives are going to be even more perfect now,
but we already have so much.
Money can never be enough, my dear Sammy. Once you get the taste of making your own money one day, you will want more and more.
Dad sounded so absurd, and then when the waitress came to take our order, my parents froze. And so did I, because her eyes looked exactly like the girl from the picture I found years ago.
You?
Sorry?
We actually should get going.
But I didn't take—
Samantha, come on, let's go.
My parents pulled me with them, and the girl looked so confused, and so was I.
What was that about? Nothing, dear. I just felt a little sick, that's all.
You're lying. I'm not 5 years old anymore. You two freaked out when you saw that girl.
Samantha, when we tell you it's nothing, it is nothing. Now please shush.
I felt so upset with my parents. They were definitely hiding something, and I was ready to put on my detective cap again and get back into the secret room. The next morning, I pretended to be sick.
Sammy, it's getting late. It's time for school.
I don't feel so good. Can I please stay in bed today?
But you don't have a temperature.
Please, Mom. I think I have a stomach bug.
Okay, I'll ask the maid to keep an eye on you.
I waited for my parents to go to their oil company they spent most of their days at, and then I went downstairs to check if our maid was around. It was so strange, but I guess it was pure luck because I found the maid fast asleep on the sofa. She must have had a late night. I ran downstairs to the red door, but froze when I saw the door slightly opened. And when I got closer, my heart pounded so hard when I saw the back of someone's blonde head.
What the freaking chickens? Who are you?
When he turned around, the air in my lungs choked. This guy was gorgeous, but what was he doing in our house? He could be like a model in a hot magazine or something.
What are you doing here?
I live here. You have 5 seconds to get out, or else I'm calling the cops.
No, wait. I was sent here under investigation. You and your family were at a restaurant yesterday and acted strangely towards the waitress.
How do you know that?
That girl was robbed of all of her parents' assets after she lost them. And when she was 2, she was left at an orphanage. The caregivers found out that her parents were actually millionaires, and they left their only child all their fortunes.
Okay, and how does that connect to us?
All the girl's assets were embezzled from her family name and company. The only way she can find justice is if we help her find a memory card, which has all the encryptions to her assets.
I still don't understand how all this connects to my family. Deep down, I was scared to admit that this strange guy was maybe right. My parents might be the fraudsters.
Well, their reaction yesterday triggered the girl, and she contacted the CIA, who have been working on this case for years. If you know anything, you have to let us know.
I started sweating and I felt so anxious when he questioned me. And then he suddenly called me as I didn't realize I was about to faint.
Hey, are you all right?
Can we get out of here? I feel a little nauseous. When we were in my room, I had to do the right thing. I showed him the picture. I found this some years back, in the same room downstairs. It's the same girl from the restaurant.
You know what this means, right?
It's just a picture.
Your parents might be the criminals.
I broke down crying at the sound of the truth, and the handsome, strange guy in front of me comforted me.
I won't let anything happen to you. My name is Jake, and this is my number. If you see a memory card that your parents are very frantic about, call me.
Thank you, Jake. I'm Samantha, and I really don't want my parents to go to jail.
I know, but this girl they stole from has been struggling for a very long time.
You can use the front door. My maid is fast asleep.
Oops, I forgot about that. I saw her in the kitchen and sprinkled some sleeping potion around her. She'll be up after an hour or so.
With that, he jumped out my window and disappeared like some kind of Batman. After hearing everything that Jake said, I was never the same again. The thought of my parents being criminals scared me, but ending up in prison was even worse. What would happen to me?
Samantha! Samantha! It's your turn to go up to the board.
I was not myself, and there was no way I could go up and do any calculations on the board. My life was falling apart.
Samantha, what's up with you?
I looked at Tanya and I wanted to tell her everything, but instead, I just started crying.
Talk to me.
Everything at home is falling apart.
I'm sorry. Do you want to talk about it?
I was sent home early that day, and I pulled myself together and searched the entire secret room for the memory card, and found nothing but paperwork of different accounts, but none of it was in my parents' name. Our life was a lie, and the truth had to come out somehow. Later that night, my parents had Mr. Shaquille over for dinner, and he still carried his bag with his pink teddy everywhere with him. I usually liked to annoy him by accidentally touching his bag every time he was around.
Do you mind?
Are you still in love with your silly teddy bear?
It's made out of cushion. It's not going to break.
Samantha, watch your words. Mr. Shaquille is much older than you.
I'm sorry, but I think it's funny that a man his age would love a pink teddy bear so much, unless he has, like, treasure hidden in there.
My parents gazed at Mr. Shaquille, gulping like they were guilty about something.
I think it's almost time for you to go to bed, Samantha.
I didn't hesitate to follow Mom's orders, because I had to call Jake. Hi, I think I know where that memory card is.
Great, I'll meet you at midnight by your window.
I was so anxious about seeing Jake again and actually exposing my parents. When he finally appeared at my window, I felt all kinds of butterflies swimming in my stomach. I was so crushing on him.
Okay, We have to be very careful that no one hears us.
Yeah, I know that, but the memory card is not here. I think it's in Mr. Shaquille's teddy bear. I can take you to his house.
No, I don't want you getting into any trouble. You are safer here.
This has been my childhood dream. I'm coming with you. And besides, you need me to find the directions.
Okay then, I guess you're the leader.
Jake had his car parked outside, and I was so nervous about this mission, but a part of me knew this was exactly what I was meant to do.
Wow, you really are like Batman. Your car even looks like the Batmobile.
You're funny, but also cute.
My face turned so red when he said that. When we reached Mr. Shaquille's house, we had two problems: his bodyguards and his scary dogs who growled at the gate, so we hid in the bushes. There's no way we can get it with all that security.
That's why I always carry an extra dose of my sleeping potion.
You are my age, right?
Yep, I go to school too. My uncle helped me become an intern with the CIA. Cool, right?
So cool. When I was a child, I used to pretend I was a detective.
I was the same, so I guess I wasn't the only weird one.
Dogs are barking. I think they know we're here.
Don't worry, I got this.
Jake went closer to the gate. He got the dogs to sniff his hand, and they immediately fell asleep. And then he climbed the tree, jumped onto the roof, and started sprinkling the potion on all the bodyguards.
Wow, he is so amazing.
As we entered Mr. Shaquille's room, the first thing I spotted was a freaking toilet pan next to his bedside. And when Jake saw it, we wanted to burst out laughing, but we held it in. I think I see the teddy bear. He's cuddling it.
Great.
It was nerve-wracking watching Jake pull the bear slowly out of Mr. Shaquille's hand, and then suddenly he sat up awake, but his eye mask was still on.
Who's there?
My heart pounded so much, but then I remembered the potion dust Jake shared with me, and I sprinkled it on Mr. Shaquille, and he dozed off immediately.
Well done, Detective Samantha.
We left Mr. Shaquille's mansion, and later Jake parked at a quiet parking lot where we tore open the teddy and found the memory card.
Bingo!
What will happen now?
I hand this over to my chief officer, and your parents and Mr. Shaquille will unfortunately be arrested. Hey, don't worry. I told you I won't let anything happen to you.
When I got back home, the police were already there. I ran inside to see my parents, and they were so mad at me.
Mom? Dad? Samantha, what did you do? We gave you everything.
You ungrateful child!
I'm sorry, but I didn't want to live a lie anymore.
After the cops took my parents, the girl from the restaurant appeared. Hi, I'm Jessica. Jake told me that you helped him. Thank you so much. I was taken back when she hugged me, and then a part of me didn't feel so bad for exposing my parents because an innocent person finally got her justice. I'm sure you're going to move into the mansion. I'll just get my stuff. You don't have to leave. What? This is your mansion. I have experienced the pain of not having parents and a home. Life can really humble a person. I would never want to see a good person suffer. Thank you so much. Even though my parents were not present, I still had the chance to be with my friends and continue with school.
You know what you should do? You should write a book.
Maybe I will, but what I'd like you to do is put on your real face on social media, because there's nothing better than the real you. Tanya eventually took my advice and even ended up having a real date with her crush. Some of my dreams also came true. Jake got me an internship spot with the CIA, and I was so good at my job.
I think the diamond is in the bottle the suspect always carries around.
Well, Samantha, I think you might be right.
But all of my dreams came true when…
Would you like to go out with me?
It depends, Detective Jake.
On?
It depends on what you know about me so far.
Well, I know you like Mira, the royal detective.
And
I know you like me, too.
you know me well.
You're so cruel, Kiara. You know what? One day something bad is going to happen to you, and no one will help you because the truth is, you're awful.
Hi, my name is Kiara from Louisiana. Please like and subscribe. Mom passed away when I was born, so my multi-billionaire dad raised me alone. And he spoiled me with money. Everyone fawned over me, but I knew it was just because I was a billionaire's daughter. One girl, Rita, the girl you saw earlier, was especially annoying in her attempts to please me. She will follow me everywhere.
Oh, you spilled juice on your sneakers.
It's waterproof.
Oh, sorry.
People would say she was super nice, but I thought she was too fake and itched to be rid of her. So when I invited her to my 17th birthday party and was about to cut the cake, I stepped up to her and pulled off her wig.
Look, guys, Rita's hair is actually 2 inches long.
All the kids in the neighborhood were there, including her crush, Derek. Her face went red, and she uttered those words of doom to me. She stopped visiting and talking to me after that, but that was a score for me. While I pretended to be the happiest outside, at home, I was lonely. Dad wasn't always around, and I didn't want to socialize with the maids, so I kept busy on social media. One afternoon, I read a viral tweet about a bank robbery that happened that day in Louisiana. The robbers were being sought by the police. I barely had time to think about it because my bedroom door burst open just then.
Hey, honey.
Dad! It had been over 2 weeks since my dad left for one of his business trips. He never told me what he did there, only that it was top secret, and he couldn't take me with him.
I just came to see your face. I'm going back right now.
Is it safe? I heard some robbers.
Sorry, my princess. I'll contact you.
I noticed then that Dad looked really tense. What's going on, Dad?
You're surrounded. Open this door right now.
Suddenly, the reflection of flashing sirens filled my room. I rushed to the window and looked out to see police cars parked in our driveway and many armed policemen heading to the door. I turned around to tell Dad what I saw, but he was racing out of the room. It was like a bad movie. The police caught my dad before he could escape and arrested him for years of cyber fraud and the recent bank robbery. All of our servants ran away. I was shocked to my bones. I couldn't believe Dad was a criminal. I stayed up all night in the house alone and in tears, wishing for the first time that I had a friend, even if it was just a weirdo like Rita. Oh, I missed her now. How was I going to face people? It was all over the news what my dad had been doing all along. To make things worse, the next day, 2 men from a security agency came and told me that they would be confiscating all of Dad's possessions, including my car and our house. Where will I live?
You will be leaving with me.
I stared at the middle-aged woman who I hadn't noticed before behind the men. And you are?
I'm your mom's older sister from Texas, Mary.
Texas? The state of cowboys and farm animals? Ew! I broke out into a run. I refused to live with an aunt who I had never seen before. She looked so poor.
Hey, come back here.
I ran at breakneck speed until I got to Rita's house. Rita! Please, open up!
What are you doing here?
Rita! Please forgive me. Please tell your parents to adopt me.
My parents can't harbor the daughter of a criminal. Sorry to disappoint.
I probably deserved what she said to me, but there was no way I was going back to the house with that woman waiting to take me to Texas of all places. I wandered aimlessly for an hour until I found myself at the park. Tired, I sat on the bench and soon dozed off. My mistake, because when I opened my eyes again, I found myself in a small, dingy bedroom. Where am I? The woman who called herself my aunt appeared at the doorway.
You're finally awake. Welcome to Texas.
What? I was at the park in Louisiana last time I remembered. She told me they had searched for me and found me asleep on a bench there. Because of her work, she had to return to Texas today, so with the help of those security agents, I was bundled into her car, and to their surprise, I remained asleep all the way there. Take me back, right now!
Kiara, you should be grateful for this opportunity to change scenery.
She was right. If Rita could act that way towards me, what would the rest of the kids in the neighborhood do? Everyone would be making fun of me. Can I get something to eat?
Sure.
Soon, she served me a tray of food that I couldn't make out what it was. What is this?
White bean soup.
This is a meal for peasants!
Half bread is better than none.
Left with no choice, I ate the meal, but vowed to order something more befitting in the morning. But in the morning, when I tried to order breakfast from a nearby breakfast delivery, I found out that the credit card Dad gave me had been blocked. How could I live in poverty? For days, I stayed holed up in my tiny room. Aunt Mary would go back to work and come back to find me in the same position. Sometimes I rejected her peasant food.
Your food has gone cold.
The food is beneath me.
If it's so bad, why don't you find work to do so you can earn money to afford your favorite meals?
I wasn't born to work. I knew I gave her a really tough time, but I was so mad at how my world had turned upside down, I couldn't see anything else. Until one stormy night. Ah! I hate storms! Aunt Mary! I came across her sleeping on the floor in the living room. Hey, why are you on the floor? Go to your bedroom.
You're sleeping in it.
That's your bedroom. You left it for me? I hadn't bothered to explore the house, so I had no idea it was the only bedroom here. But why would she do that? She had nothing to gain from me. You're sleeping on the floor here for me to sleep on the bed? Why did you bring me here when you're not even comfortable?
You're my precious niece. Would you prefer I left you to be taken to a foster home?
Tears filled my eyes. All along, I had been a brat to her when she had actually done me a favor by showing up. I doubted I would have survived in a foster home. I vowed to be a better niece to Aunt Mary from then on and help her out. So the next day, I went with her to meet Mr. and Mrs. Smith, the couple she worked for in their mansion, and apply for a part-time job. Ma'am, sir, I would also love to work here part-time.
Great. We are in need of another hand in the kitchen.
Thank God it was not the farm. The wages they proposed to pay was nothing like what my dad gave me on a weekly basis, but at least I was earning it legally. On my first day of work, I dressed in one of the few designer clothes Aunt Mary had packed for me. As I made my way to the mansion, I passed a plainly dressed girl who had her back to me and was shoveling mud from an empty ranch into a wheelbarrow like a pro. The next second, I felt something wet and sticky land on my back. Mud! It was mud on my Dior shirt! Are you blind? Do you know how much this shirt cost? She turned around to face me, and I almost lost my footing. She was so beautiful. Bright green eyes, dark hair with bangs, a leanly built figure, and even though she was quite tall, I could tell she and I would be around the same age.
Sorry, princess. I don't have eyes at the back of my head.
But when she spoke, my awestruck state shattered and I regained my temper. Oh, you dare to insult me after what you did?
Hey, stop barking. Who wears a Dior shirt to work anyway?
She even had the gulls to look amused. You witch! I rushed toward the ranch to grab some mud and throw it right back at her top. But when I looked in her eyes again, I just couldn't do it. Thank your stars, I can't bear to touch mud.
Ooh, scary.
Ah! She was infuriating! After my event with the silly girl, I cleaned the kitchen and went on to do my last task for the day, serve the Smiths dinner. On getting to the dining room, I froze when I saw who sat at the dining table with Mr. and Mrs. Smith. The mud girl! She had cleaned up all the dirt and wore fresh clothes, but there was no mistaking her. She gave me a huge smirk when our eyes met.
Oh, Kiara, have you met our daughter Mia? Come closer and say hi. Don't be shy. Yes, Kiara, come say hi.
Hi, Mia. Panicking inwardly, I quickly set the table and served their food, afraid she was going to spill everything about how I had spoken to her and get me fired. But all she did was bore holes into the side of my head with her piercing green eyes until I left. Gosh, did she not know it was rude to stare? Later, when I came to clean up the dining table, Mrs. Smith sat alone with a smile on her face to announce that Mia had chosen me to be her help.
That's not a problem, right?
No, ma'am. Inside, I boiled with anger. The spoiled brat wanted me to be her personal maid so she could torture me.
Good. So go upstairs and let her tell you what she expects of you.
I climbed the stairs to her room like it was haunted. Hello? Her room was much bigger and well decorated than mine back at the mansion. I was a girl of her class shoveling mud. Is this some kind of joke? Turning me into your personal slave?
Correction, assistant.
That's just... She stood up from the chair she was sitting on, and I felt the words dry in my throat as she leaned over me.
Call it anything you want. I intend to double your pay in 2 weeks if you are good. But if this cranky attitude is what I have to put up with, then please leave.
Of course I couldn't leave, and from the triumphant smirk on her pretty face, she knew this too. What do you want me to do for you? And can you give me some space?
Does being this close bother you?
Why should I? You just smell a lot like dirty mud. It was a lie, but I wasn't going to let her win.
Your task is to do whatever I ask of you. First, you'll stand there and sing until I fall asleep. Only then can you leave.
Could this get any crazier? Seeing as I had no choice, I began to sing a song that could hopefully give her nightmares. Soon, I was hearing soft snores, and when I snuck a peek at her, she was sound asleep, looking like an angel. A beautiful angel of evil. Later, I couldn't sleep when I thought of all the humiliating things she would tell me to do. What if she treated me the way I had treated Rita? It came to me then that I had been very wrong with what I had done to Rita. If I could be scared of being treated the same way, it means I had dished Rita a meal I couldn't take. And her words then, it really looked like it had come to pass now. After a moment, I typed an apology to Rita. The other one didn't count. I had just been desperate to escape my aunt. Now I felt truly sorry and sincerely hoped she forgave me. I prepared for work the next day with my stomach in knots.
Kiara, don't be so scared. Mia is a very good girl. She treats every servant with respect.
Well, maybe every servant but me. Our front door was pushed open, and there, dazzling in the morning sun, was Mia.
Howdy, Kiara. You're late. Morning, Miss Mary.
And so my life as Mia's personal maid began. Odd thing was, she hardly gave me anything serious to do. She cleaned up after herself and made her bed, and would instead assign odd and sometimes very embarrassing tasks. It looked like she hired me just for her entertainment.
Pick out my underwear for tomorrow. Brush my hair while I read.
Once, she even asked me to do something that made me blush to the tips of my ears. Feed you?
Yes.
I am sure you have hands.
They are scabbed over from shoveling manure today. I forgot to wear gloves.
Why do you even work on the farm when you have servants at your disposal?
I get paid.
Won't your parents give you money even if you don't work?
They will, but I am happier to work for it than receive handouts. At least when I share it with the less privileged, it doesn't feel like I'm throwing away money that isn't mine in the first place.
Wait, you work, get paid, then share it with the less privileged?
What? It's called giving to charity.
Wow. Despite the fact she was utterly annoying, my respect for her climbed very high that evening. She was a much better person than I had been when I was in her position. She even treated the maids like they were friends. I managed to feed her a few spoons when I noticed that our faces were really close. It was as if she was going to kiss me. I need to go.
Kiara!
I did my best to avoid Mia after that day. I needed to sort out all the confusing feelings she was making me feel. Thankfully, she didn't bother me either. I focused on helping Aunt Mary out on the farm. One day, I was throwing feed into the fish pond when I heard a growl behind me. It was a bull of monstrous size, pawing the ground. It looked like it was about to charge at me. Help!
Kiara!
Out of nowhere, Mia appeared with a red cloth and began to wave it at the bull, distracting it from me.
Back off, boy!
Soon, other servants rushed in and helped to rein the bull. My heart was still beating when Mia approached me.
Kiara, are you okay?
Something about the gentle way she spoke to me and the concern in her eyes pulled me in like a magnet. And before I could register what I was doing, I pressed my lips to hers.
Is this thanks for saving your life?
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't know when
Are you saying you regret it? 'Cause I don't.
You don't?
Mm-hmm. I liked you from the very first day you yelled at me. So, is this why you took an unpermitted leave from me? I was getting too hot for you to handle?
I have never felt this way before. You really like me? In response, she pressed her lips to mine again, and I took that as a yes. Aunt Mary came rushing toward us then with a phone in hand. I don't know if she had seen us kiss or even knew I had almost been attacked by a bull, but she looked really anxious.
Kiara, there's someone on the line for you.
Who?
Your mom.
My mom? Oh, isn't she dead?
Mom, Dad, I have some good news for you.
My sister Ella came rushing into the living room. I braced myself for whatever brilliant idea she came up with this time. Our parents looked up immediately, all their attention on her.
I've been saving a lot from the jobs I've been doing over the weekends. I now want to start my own online business selling jewelry. You guys have inspired me since your store is so successful.
She opened up her laptop and showed us her new website.
See, it's all ready. Now all I need is to add the items I'll be selling.
My parents exchanged a look I saw often. It was a look of pride and joy at their brilliant daughter. Then Dad turned to me.
Aren't you going to congratulate your sister?
Whatever. I rolled my eyes.
Take that attitude and go to your room.
I got up to leave, but Ella blocked my path.
It's okay, Dad. Don't be too hard on Kat. She'll catch up one day. In fact, she managed to get a C in her latest math test. That's so much better than a D she got in the previous test. Isn't that great?
She slowly clapped in my face and laughed. It was humiliating. I lunged at her, tackled her to the floor, and started to pull her hair.
Kat, you're hurting me.
Mom grabbed me and pulled me off Ella.
Get away from her, you crazy child.
I stood up and ran to my room. I shouldn't have let her get to me. Now my parents had another reason to hate me. Yep, it was just another normal Saturday evening in my house. Our parents were constantly comparing me to Ella, who, according to Mom, was her perfect and most talented daughter. If only Mom knew how wrong she was. You see, my big sister had perfected the art of fooling our parents into thinking she was an angel. She flourished in her studies and also helped our parents at their jewelry store. It also didn't hurt that she was strikingly beautiful and a social butterfly. Everyone wanted her in their circle. and all the boys wanted to go out with her. Truth was, Ella was evil, manipulative, and very cunning, and I was the only one who saw right through her mask. Watch till the end to see how Ella's lies caught up with her, and the truth about who she really was came out. Also like this video and subscribe to this channel to watch more cool videos like this one. By the end of that month, Ella's online business was up and running. I always saw her deliver wrapped items to some of her friends at school. One evening, our dinner conversation took a very interesting turn.
So, Ella, how's business?
It's going great, Dad. I'm sorry I haven't had much time to help out at the store. I've been busy making deliveries. Don't worry about it, honey. Speaking of the store, something happened there last night.
If I wasn't mistaken, I saw Ella tense.
A few things are missing from the storage room. I think we got robbed.
What? That's horrible.
Yeah, the police are investigating.
Don't you have cameras at the store?
We do, but the thieves were both wearing masks.
So you don't have any suspects?
Not yet, but the police are questioning Thomas, the security guard.
Ella, who seemed bored with the whole conversation, suddenly choked on her food and began to cough repeatedly.
Are you all right, honey? I can't.
She stood and ran out of the room.
What was that all about?
I have no idea, but I was going to find out. I kept a close eye on Ella and nothing interesting happened at first, but one night, I heard her open her bedroom window. I rushed to my window and I saw her jump and fall on some bushes below. This was it. I was finally going to find out what she was up to. I quickly put on a jacket and jumped out my window, just like Ella. We'd both done it so many times and never once got hurt or caught. Ella ran down the street and I ran after her, trying my best not to be seen. A few minutes later, I saw a car's headlights flash twice, and Ella rushing towards it. The car door opened and a man got out. I knew that man.
Thomas, hey, where is it?
I could lose my job and go to jail over this.
Calm down, they don't suspect anything. Now hand me the package. I need to get back before my annoying sister finds out I'm gone.
All right. But this is the last time I'm helping you steal from your parents.
I could not believe what I was hearing.
As if you could turn down the money I'm paying you. Now leave.
As Thomas got back in his car, I ran up the street and climbed through my window. I barely slept that night. I was bursting with excitement. I was going to share my findings with Mom and Dad first thing in the morning. Breakfast was going to be very entertaining for me and shocking for Ella. However, the next morning, I woke up to find both Mom and Dad gone and Ella eating breakfast by herself. Hey, where's Mom and Dad?
They already left for the store.
But they always have breakfast with us.
They had to go earlier than usual. Did you have something you wanted to tell them?
Not really. Excuse me. I picked up my bag and went to school. I thought about going to the store instead of school, but Mom and Dad would be so mad at me for skipping school. I decided to wait until dinner. Immediately after school, I ran home. It was finally time to expose Ella. As soon as I walked through the door, I started talking. Mom, Dad, you'll not believe what Ella—
Kat, explain to us what these pieces of jewelry were doing in your room.
I stared in shock. On the table in front of our parents and Ella were several jewelry boxes. What are you talking about?
Ella found them in your room and she showed us right away. Did you steal this from the store?
What? I didn't steal anything. Ella must have put them there.
Enough. Your sister's a good girl. If it wasn't for her, we wouldn't know what you've been doing.
I found the boxes under your bed, Kat. Did a ghost walk in and hide them there?
Stop lying! I furiously wiped tears from my eyes and ran to my room.
This is not over. You're in so much trouble, young lady.
Ella must have planted those boxes in my room. How was I going to convince Mom and Dad that she was setting me up? The next morning, Mom informed me that they decided not to report me to the police. She proceeded to issue me with a stern warning to not steal from the store again. She also grounded me for a month. Once again, I tried to tell her the truth about Ella, but she didn't let me talk. The more I tried to explain, the angrier she got, so I just stopped. Meanwhile, Ella walked around and laughed with her friends as if nothing had happened while I was miserable and angry. I needed to do something.
I opened my locker and dumped my books inside. Ugh, I hated school. Only thing I loved about it were my fabulous friends who adored me. And how could they not? I sold them fancy jewelry at half the price my parents were selling them at the store. I was about to close my locker when something caught my eye. It was a note taped to the inside of the locker door. I know you're the thief. I want you to steal the diamond and gold necklace from the store display window. I'll pick it up from your locker tomorrow after school. Do what I ask or I'll report you. I stared at the piece of paper in shock. Could someone have seen me take stuff from the store? The diamond and gold necklace was the most expensive item in the store. My parents would never forgive me if I got caught stealing it. But what choice did I have? Whoever left the note was going to expose me. After school, I went to see Thomas, the store security guard and also my accomplice. Thomas had worked at the store for years and my parents trusted him.
Ella, what are you doing here during the day? Someone could see you.
I'm in trouble. I told him about the note and the demand the anonymous sender had made.
Have you lost your mind? There's no way I'm helping you steal a $1,000 necklace.
You don't have a choice here. If I go down, so do you.
But we could go to jail.
Not if we steal the necklace and hand it over to whoever wrote the note. We have to do it tonight. It took a little more convincing, but Thomas finally agreed with me. I went home and waited for everyone to sleep. Then I snuck out. As usual, I had my parents' keys to the store with me. Thomas was already at the storefront. We put on our masks and opened the door. We grabbed the necklace and were out in minutes. We ran all the way to Thomas's apartment, which was only a few blocks away.
Now what?
Now I show the video to Mom and Dad. I couldn't believe Ella had fallen for my trap. When I wrote her the note, I thought she'd suspect it was from me, but she didn't. And now here she was, the necklace in her hand and a stunned look on her face.
Kat, what are you doing?
I followed you. I recorded everything. Mom and Dad will be so mad at you.
Give me that phone!
Thomas lunged at me, but I jumped out of the way. He fell down, and while he scrambled to get up, I ran out the door. When I got to our front door, I realized I didn't have my keys since I'd snuck out through the window. I rang the doorbell over and over. Mom! Dad! I could barely breathe from all the running. A few minutes later, the door opened.
Kat, what are you doing outside at this hour?
I have to show you something.
Dad, I can explain.
I turned to see Ella standing behind me, arms crossed and her head bent in defeat.
Girls, what's going on?
As soon as we were all inside the house, I showed everyone the video I'd recorded. When Mom saw Ella and Thomas take off their masks, she exclaimed in shock.
Oh my God, Ella? You're the one who's been robbing us? I'm so sorry. I never thought you'd find out.
Panic was written all over Ella's face.
Where's the necklace?
She took it out of her pocket and placed it on the table. Then she ran up the stairs and locked herself in her room. Mom dropped to her knees and started to cry.
How could she do this? She's so perfect.
Ella was never perfect, Mom. She just wanted you to think she was and you all fell for it. Police officers showed up at our house the next morning. When Ella saw them, she grabbed Mom's arm.
You called the cops on me? We didn't. But after Thomas was arrested last night, he told the police about you. But I don't want to go to jail.
Tears rolled down her face. I kind of felt sorry for her, but what did she expect? Ella, I'm sorry.
Don't talk to me. I hate you.
She was escorted out to a waiting police car. Dad went with her. What will happen to her?
Your dad and I have agreed not to make any charges, but she needs to go make a statement.
What?
Kat, I know you have your differences, but do you really want to see Ella go to jail?
I thought about it for a moment. I hated to admit it, but Mom was right. Okay, maybe not jail, but you can't just let her get away with it.
Of course not. We are sending her to live and work at Grandma Patty's farm.
I burst out laughing. Ella hated that farm. Not only was the farm hundreds of miles away, it was in a remote area that had no cell phone network. Also, Grandma Patty had no TV. Everyone there spent their days shoveling horse manure and cleaning chicken houses. For how long?
For the next 2 years. She will only leave the farm when she goes to college.
I walked to my room, happy that Ella's true nature had finally been exposed.